Hey everybody, you're listening to the Ask Madden Show, a weekly audio podcast where we interview the influencers in the Madden community. This week we sit down with Kevin Mamuzet, better known as Coach K from Compete Forever. Here we go. Welcome to Ask Madden Show, Episode 2. First of all, thanks so much for last week. We had over 150 people listen to our interview with Z Farrells, and we're currently ranked number 25 in Games and Hobbies podcast. Thank you guys so much. This week, we sit down with Kevin Mamuzet, better known as Coach K from Compete Forever. We talk about the history of Compete Forever, the landscape of competitive Madden, and he gets into who he expects to repeat in the top 10. Also, we talk about their MCS sanctioned event that's coming up in the beginning of September. Be sure to listen all the way through because there's some good stuff in there. Come back next week for our interview with Rex Dixon, the creative director of Madden. But without further ado, here's the interview. So let's start here. Tell me a little bit about what Compete Forever is. How did it get started? Where's it at now?
Sure. All right. So I think a good place to begin is basically going back to what kind of got me into the whole competitive Madden. So I'll kind of do that, fast forward to now. Pretty much, I used to be a person that was like really, really into NBA Live. I used to be really into that, playing that game. And then after that, I guess after 2005, I didn't really like the game that much. And then we started playing Madden. We went to our cousin's house, and one day we were playing. And, I didn't play Madden like a lot, during the times of NBA Live during the early 2000s. I played a lot like in college and stuff like that. But then after that, kind of fell off with that. So then when I played Madden again with my cousin, he was using hot routes. I didn't know anything about hot routes. So I was like, okay. So the next day at work, I'm Googling Madden hot routes and stuff like that. Now, don't let anyone know I'm doing that at work. But anyway, so I Googled Madden hot routes. And then after that, it brings me to a site called VG Sports. This is an old tip site that was out in the early 2000s and stuff like that. Really good site. So then, basically I went into the rabbit hole. I got the ebooks, I subscribed to the tips and so on and so forth. And that kind of exposed me to like competitive Madden. I learned about the Madden challenge, so on and so forth. So I was like, okay, cool. So I learned the hot routes and everything like that. And that was around the time when the PS2 got that little modem and you were able to do online play. So I was like hooked. I was online playing Madden, so on and so forth.
That's a reach back. Hold on, we gotta stop there for a minute. So what happened was when online play became a thing, they sold these things called network adapters, and they were about the size of they were big. They were like the whole back of your PS4, and it hooked into the back of your PS4, and then you could hook an Ethernet cable. Or it wasn't dial-up. It was Ethernet. So it was an Ethernet cable. Yeah, and that was how we got online back in the day. That's actually funny because whenever I'm talking to guys who are younger than me who play Madden and they complain about the speed of patches and stuff, I always say, like, dude, when Madden was bad back in the day, it was just bad for a whole year. Like, it's
just be happier online. You know what I'm saying? That's it.
Right. Sorry, I heard that and I had to dive in for a minute.
Of course. Little footnote for the youngins. And that was crazy because like around that time it was like 2000, 2002, and that was kind of like a perfect time because that's when the high-speed internet started coming out and stuff like that up here. We had the Optimal Online, the high-speed internet started coming out, and then at the same time we got the modem. I will tell you though, my cousin, he was online on PS2 on dial-up. Like we would actually hear that noise on his PS2. I was like, man, I can't do that. I need high speed. But as an aside, basically getting into that. So basically it became a thing where, you play ranked and you're like, are these the best people I'm playing? You know what I'm saying? Like, am I playing the best people? So you kind of go on a search. So that search kind of brought me to, like I said, I went to VG Sports. Then I started going to the EA message boards and so on and so forth, seeing people, with league play and all the other stuff. And then eventually I got with a certain league. And, it was cool and stuff like that. And one of the best things that ever happened to me in the league is that when I was playing, one of the people that I just played that beat me, like he actually took time out to show me how to throw a high curl in Madden 06. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a simple thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm a new guy. I'm running around with Michael Vick and stuff like that online and talking about I'm the one of the top 2,000 people ranked in the world. I'm thinking that's a big thing or whatever. When these guys are smacking me and stuff, and he's taking time out to show me that. And I
Yeah,
was like,
I remember. I'm sorry to cut you off. I remember 06, 07. I was playing and I was okay. I thought I was good, but a guy just waxed me, and then he hopped on the mic, and he actually took time to explain to me, like, oh, when I have two receivers, that means that I'm in a running formation, and I didn't know stuff like that before then. So yeah, that's just cool story, because that's kind of my story of how I started to realize, oh, there's more going on here than I realized.
Exactly. And the guy that showed me is like one of my best friends now. His name is Carlos. He's from DC. His Madden nickname is Bama, the DC Bama, and and just that experience right there, like having someone show you in the camaraderie in the league and so on and so forth, made me want to have everyone else feel that. You know what I'm saying? Be like that whole competing, but everyone's helping each other and so on and so forth. So that made me take a more active role in that league where, I would go out and like recruit people. You know what I'm saying? And this is more of like a competitive style league. So I would go out and recruit people. The league would grow. And then eventually, I would say, hey, you know what? I'm looking online. I'm seeing these tournaments that are going on, like in Philly and so on and so forth. Let's get a group of guys. Let's go to these tournaments. Let's show them how good we can do and stuff like that. Then, the first tournament that we actually went to of those was like in 2008 or something like that, like in the spring or whatever. And we went down there. It was me, one of my guys, Nell. His Madden name was Tiki. And then after that, Bama, he went with us. And pretty much he actually beat Bama. Actually beat K-Star. Like, he was like a very well-known Madden player. He was on Madden Nation and everything like that. So he upset him in the tournament and stuff like that. So that was big and stuff like that. We were excited, so on and so forth. So basically, that's how we kind of got into like the whole competitive scene. Then we started going to Madden challenges, blah blah blah, all this other stuff. Okay, so. Fast forward a couple of years later, after going to tournaments, playing in the league and so on and so forth. Pretty much, we linked up with eventually in the league and stuff like that. S. Gibbs and like Z Farls, they joined up in our league, and we got to know them and everything like that. And I think around like 2009, I think 2009 or 2010. Actually, S. Gibbs actually referred me to a book by Gary Vaynerchuk, the Crush It book.
Crush It,
so, yeah, Crush It and stuff like that. And basically, I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is more like, okay, I have a passion, blah blah. Let me do this. Let me get a URL set up, blah blah. So I got really into it and stuff like that. And so eventually, that made me think, okay, what am I doing with this? I've been in this for 5 years. I really want to take it to the next level. So then that's when I ended up creating Compete Forever, the website. Dove in, everything, got the website done, everything, had the leagues on there, and just basically got going and stuff like that. And basically my mission was to make a bridge from casual play to competitive play through the leagues. Like, it's basically like I would say like a player incubator of sorts. You know what I'm saying? Where you can actually hone your skills in the league, because the league follows pretty much like whatever the competitive standard is. So, the players will get used to that. And then after that, when they actually go to, either grind the ladders or go out to, competitive tournaments, stuff like that, they're not blindsided. Like, they already know that they're good and stuff like that. And over the years, like, I fancy myself, I'm not the best player, but I feel like I know how to evaluate talent. I'll see certain players, I'll be like, yo, man, you need to go to tournament and stuff like that. Then they'll go to a tournament, go far. Everyone else is surprised, but I'm not surprised. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much it. And then I guess for like the first couple of years, we were like pretty much concentrating on the online league type thing. And then after that, I think like after the year, I think when VG Gaming was kind of took over the competitive Madden thing, after that, it kind of hit a lull in terms of like a big Madden challenge, and kind of the tournament scene kind of died down, especially with the grassroots tournaments. And then that's when we kind of went into doing the live events. So we had our first like live tournament event in October of 2012. Yep. So we had that. We had a local battles in Fort Lee, New Jersey, and the thing is that what we did is that we were the first people to actually stream competitive Madden in the modern era. That place, that venue was actually the place that was pretty well known for streaming like Street Fighter tournaments and so on and so forth, and Gears of War tournaments and stuff. So they had a whole stream set up and everything. And I was like, if I'm gonna do a tournament, I want to make sure that it's a place where we can stream. Like, it's like all these tournaments I've ever been to before that. You go to the tournament, they'll have maybe a thread on the message boards, dedicated to recapping the tournament, but that's pretty much it. No video, nothing to look back to, so on and so forth. So that's why I was like, okay, we gotta have video. You know what I'm saying? We got to have a stream going and stuff like that. And people like really took well to it. And then from that point on, then we had a couple other, promoters in the community, join the, do promotions also, and then also do streaming after that. But yeah, we were definitely the first people to do that in the modern era and stuff like that. So that was a cool thing. So that's pretty much it. So, just leading up to that, still doing the league play, still doing the tournaments for about like 5 years now. And then we, had the chance to actually have the first ever officially sanctioned EA tournament last year. And we actually had 3 last year. And now we're moving on to our 4th with our event that's going to take place on September 2nd and 3rd. And that brings us here. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so you guys have the online league, so basically still the incubator type of thing, which I've heard those guys are. It's interesting because I don't think people realize how good competitive players are. And I always point out to people, most people who play Madden seriously enough to be listening to a podcast about it are probably the best Madden player they personally know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought for a while, like, oh, I'm pretty good. And then last year in the coin-up game where the stream team was playing, or that was 2 years ago, 2 years ago when the stream team was playing coin-up games, I played Ropey, and he beat me like 35-6, or like he just, worked me. Like, and it was this realization, like, wow, like, as better as I am than your average Madden player, like the average competitive player is that much better than me. Like,
yeah. And the same thing, like I used to have these neighbors that used to invite me over, like I was some like Madden freak or something like that. It's like, oh, he's good, no one could beat him and stuff like that. I'm like, guys, I'm not good. I was telling her, like, I'm not good. Compared to people play, I'm not good. Trust me.
I'm a big fish in this pond, but not,
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, guys, I'm not good and stuff like that. Because I would play in my leagues most of the time. I don't anymore because I just, the time and stuff like that. But I would never, like, I think like a couple of times I made the playoffs. But most of the time, man, I have like losing records and so on and so forth. But, like I say, one of my sayings is L's are for learning. And these guys are, they'll expose you, man. They'll send you back to the lab. Like one thing's for sure in these leagues and stuff. Like if you're labbing up something, you'll know for sure if it works right when you start playing and stuff like that. So they'll let you know pretty quick. So
right, and then what I love about playing competitively is you really realize how much there is. I remember, what year was PA End Around the big play? Was that 13?
Wow, PA End Around. Was that 13?
Well, no, last year you couldn't audible out of auto motion, so it must have been 25 then, right?
It must have been, or 16.
Yeah, 16 or 25 was PA End Around.
Yeah.
That year, I got into MUT leagues for the first time with, like, the Madden Tips community, and I thought, like, oh, this is going to be awesome. I'm in MUT leagues. I'm going to really surprise this guy. I played a guy named Winning Blowfish. And good night. I mean, it was just, that man ran PA end around like he knew it, like it was a family member. I mean, it was.
I ran to people that did that. To me, it's kind of like, it kind of falls along the line of like the swerve of Madden 17.
Yeah,
and
I've come around on the swerve, and the reason why is because I realized when you would see other competitive guys try it, they wouldn't be as successful as Voltarax was, and I realized this guy practiced this a lot. Like, you can like say what you want, but he put some time in.
See, those things. I think the way to put it in proper perspective with those type of things is that I always harken back to the Rocket Curls of '09. Like, that was a big problem with '09, curls. Just ask anyone. But the thing is that, like, okay, so if you're a tournament promoter or if you're a person running a league and stuff like that, when you make a rule, the rule has to be feasible. It has to be enforceable. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You can't really ban a route. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, it's something you just have to live with. It's bad. Yeah, we know. You know what I'm saying? So it's something you have to live with. So just like the same thing with the swerve, sometimes the same thing as the PA end around stuff. And it gets patched, and then people got to find another way to move the ball and stuff. So that's pretty much that for that.
Well, and how far are we from somebody becoming a great target passer? You know what I mean? A guy who really can just mess with the AI around target passing.
That's what I'm waiting for. These guys right now, as we speak, people are poking and prodding the EA Access version of Madden.
Yeah, and
so we'll see.
It's funny. I don't want people who listen to both episodes to feel like I'm going back to a well. But I always feel like the developers have a tough job, because if you're a developer, there's 50 websites trying to make money off of making you wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's their whole goal.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, but but also too, it does make their job kind of easier, because it's like free QA. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, they buy a membership to one of these sites, and they have all the setups. QA. It really is. That's true. That's an interesting way to look at it.
So, as long as they're on top of it and they patch it, or even if they can't patch it as soon as possible, at least they, release, like a statement or say something to the point of, this is something that we're looking into. This is something that is wrong that we're looking into. Then that's fine. Because as for me, as a person that runs league and as a tournament promoter, like, it allows me to be like, okay, EA did acknowledge that it's something that they need to work on. That is bad. So if there's a way that we can make a rule to kind of like take us over until it's actually patched, that we could do that if we can, if it's feasible. But if it's not, we just have to live with it.
Right. And I love that they talk about it. I love that Rex got on there a couple weeks ago, when Dion does this video came out about like the zones aren't playing like they were at EA Play.
Yeah.
And he put out a tweet within a couple hours basically saying, hey, this is something we're looking at for I don't know if he said a day one patch, but that was the vibe I got.
Yeah.
That creates some interesting things for your guys' tournament, though, because then guys have, some of these guys have had the game since, EA Access, and then they'll play 3 days early, and then if there's a serious zone patch 1 or 2 days before you guys get rolling, it gets real interesting up there.
Well, I mean, if it's going to be a day one patch, I would imagine it would be. I mean, what did he consider day one? Did he consider
August
the 22nd or the 22nd for the GOAT?
I'd imagine it'd be August. I mean, I guess we'll find out.
So,
this sounds like worst. We need to tweet to Rex.
Worst case scenario, would just assume it will be the 25th, and then still give them a week to lab.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they'll be all right, man. They'll be all right.
All right, so how did last year, because last year was really the first time competitive Madden became, I mean, would it saying became mainstream, is that wrong to say? It felt like it came into the Madden consciousness,
Yeah, I mean more than ever because there have been EA has made forays into esports and competitive gaming before, like with the 32 city Madden challenges that were back in the early 2000s to basically in the 2000s. Then we had the little stint with MLG. In 2009.
Yeah, okay.
And then we had the stint with Virgin Gaming, like in 2011, 2012, 2013. So that's pretty much it. But see, the thing is that like those things were kind of handled by quote unquote outside contractors. Now this time, EA took the initiative and basically brought everything in house, just like pretty much what other publishers do. So to me, it is like the biggest. To me, this is the golden age. All right. So to me, this is like the most attention, the most money. More people are vested in it. People are grinding ladders, so on and so forth. It's not limited to who can travel to events and so on and so forth. So yeah, to me, I love it. I think this is great.
That's awesome. But, it's interesting because I look at other esports. I look at the League of Legends, the Dota, the stuff that those guys that are, holding up the big checks. And it feels like, or even FIFA, who has a competitive representative to like a lot of major league teams and stuff like that. And it feels like Madden's a little bit behind. Do you feel like there's a reason for that? Do you see us catching up? What's your feel on that?
If I didn't think that we had a chance to reach that level or to fulfill our full potential, like I would not be doing this. It's that core belief that makes me that pretty much drives me. You know what I'm saying? Like I look at these other games, like I respect League of Legends reach and what they do for esports, the pioneering, so on and so forth. We could look to them, even other genres like the fighting games, the shooters, and so on and so forth. But I'm just not into them. I just don't. Those genres just don't do it for me. So I'm like, how could they have that for that, and then we can't have that for football and sports gaming in general? They call it esports, but there's no sports in it. We got to put the sports in esports. Come on, let's go. So pretty much what I think is that obviously like a lot of the largest esports are based on PC, Master Race, so on and so forth. But and then also too a lot of times too like these games are free to play. And then they make the companies make their money off like the DLC and so on and so forth. So that's another thing. Like it's free and it's on PC. Everyone has a PC. Everyone likes free 99, and so that's pretty much what if you look at basically like how League of Legends got pretty huge, it's because they just gave out free copies. They gave out free copies, and then they kind of like fostered the competitive community. When they made the game, they actually made it with the intention of it being a competitive esport. So they had that in mind already. So that's why I'm really not surprised of how huge it is. I think if we take some of those initiatives and do the same thing, I think we can definitely get to that point. I would love to see Madden return to PC. Because but obviously they have some concerns and so on and so forth they need to take care of first. So I think once they bring it back, I think it'll be great, man. Because when you have the PCs, man, they have like you could do like little mods here and there and so on and so forth. So I think that would just open it up to a whole new audience, and I think it would just make it that much bigger and stuff. I mean, opening up the PC, I mean, think about it. Like, there's all these efforts to bring the NFL overseas, American football overseas, so on and so forth. Like, obviously in London, in England, that's like a big thing. I know there's a pretty big following of NFL, like in places like Australia too, Mexico, Canada. Also too, I know there's an initiative that they have going on right now in China to bring American football into China. So that's another like a huge market and stuff like that. So I think if they get into doing it on PC, that would even help bring that game over there and to bring it to like a much bigger scale, than it is right now and stuff like that. So I see the potential there.
So you think that the path forward looks like maybe considering PC, and I think you talked about in your Forbes interview from March 2016, you talked about how, you like the new game every year, but the option of having sports games such as Madden bought back to PC with 2 or 3 year production cycle, along with it being fully customizable outside of gameplay and regular updates for rosters over that cycle has potential, and it would help with the growing footprint because everyone owns a computer. So, just in case anybody thought you were just thinking of this now, it's basically what you just said. So I mean, that's an interesting thought because it gets real fascinating. But then when you talk about where Madden is making its money, you realize it's not in game sales really anymore.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, they're making it through micro content, and it starts to become, when do games transition into almost a Netflix model where I pay a developer X amount per year to have access to everything they kick out of their studio? And I mean, that gets really fascinating, and we currently have the internet speeds where that's a possibility now, and so everything just has to catch up.
Yeah, basically almost following like your cell phone.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure you've had a deal before where they say, hey, you sign up with us, you get the phone for free,
right,
and then you get the service. They make the money off the service.
Right. Or Rocket League even. I mean, to even look at a competitive esport example, Rocket League just stormed the market by being a free game on PS4. And became insanely popular and had a tournament the first Saturday it was released for, a couple $1,000. And the way that game took off was crazy.
Oh yeah, and actually, my partner that does the tournaments with me, Larry Ridley, that works in Madden, that is the voice of the halftime show in Madden. He actually is working with the Rocket League, like he does the interview segments and so on and so forth. So he actually did not last weekend, but the weekend before, he actually did the NBC Universal Open for the Rocket League. He did the Philadelphia and the New York events and stuff like that. And yeah, he came back to me. He's like, oh man, this is huge. The community is really enthusiastic and so on and so forth. And just kind of like, and it's kind of interesting because now, we can kind of take those parallels between how Rocket League is, how Madden is, and how we can improve and stuff like that. So, there's some stuff we can improve on and stuff like that, but, the potential is definitely there.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure. Yeah, and then the idea of a PC kind of environment is it takes away the cross console problems, right? You know what I mean? If you just make, hey, plug your PS4 controller into your computer and qualify on there, you just have one ladder, and and again, if it's free, people can do it. And if you could do a console game that has all your cool console game elements to it, and maybe just release a shell on PC that's just the competitive pieces. You know what I mean? It gets pretty cool for sure.
Yeah. It's definitely it's definitely something that would be great if they put it on PC. And like I said, just basically going back to the code that I said before, just maybe having like a completely new iteration in the game. Every few years. I mean, if you look at other games, well, I'm not gonna say like some of the shooter games like Call of Duty now. It's like they almost come out with a game every new year now. But like games like the fighting games like Street Fighter, like they won't come out with a new game every year. So it gives the community a chance to actually like, okay, you grow with the game. They make patches. They have new content and so on and so forth. So, I think I could see Madden like actually, getting to that and stuff like that. Especially now with all the DLC,
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because when you step outside of Madden, now I'm somebody who actually I played like 17 up until like I think my last 17 game was last week. So, and I haven't been playing a lot of video games normally, but I legitimately play the game year round. But I took a little break in June and played through Hitman for the PS4.
Okay.
And I had a blast, and it was just this feeling of, other games don't just have 1 year cycles. Like it was almost like I had forgotten.
I know. Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like almost with Madden because it's like a yearly thing. It almost feels like the real NFL. You have the season, then you have the off season. It's like a whole cycle and stuff like that. So
Right.
we just used to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, a couple more questions. Looking at this year, the top 10 players were in order in terms of money winnings: Skimbo, Problem, Dubby, Spot Me Please, Beast Mode Mac, Boogs, Joke, Young Kiv, Serious Mo, and True Boy. So obviously every year we're going to have different people who break in, different people who come out. So if you had to pick 4 of those guys and guess who's going to repeat in the top 10, who do you think it's going to be?
I would say definitely Skimbo. Let me see here. Problem is always going to find a way to be up there. And then after that, let's see. I would say definitely Joke and Serious Mo. These guys, are people that, players are tough year in, year out. They always try to find a way to win. The only thing that holds them back is, how focused they are on competing. You know what I'm saying? They're their most toughest opponents and stuff like that. So if those guys are truly locked in, watch out, everyone.
How true is it that the focus of a game might affect a player's performance? It's no secret that Mo has on Twitter a couple of times said that he butters his bread with defense and running, and both of those things were easier in 17 than they have been in past years. How true is that from what you see on a competitive landscape, that what a game happens to emphasize can affect really obviously the good players win in the end of the day, which is why Mo is still a top 10 player. But how much is that? Basically what I'm asking is how thin is the margin between 10 and 1 on stuff like that?
I don't know. Like for me, it's like it just depends on the player, because eventually, like a good player is gonna adapt. Is be like, okay, this is the game, this is how it works, and this is how I'm gonna adapt to it. I want to play this certain way, but I'm gonna adapt to the game. This is like there's a different way to be defensive this year. You know what I'm saying? Or there's a different way to do my offense this year to run. But eventually, I'm gonna basically make it so I can play the way that I want to play. So I really think, even if people, put a lot of lip service to it, like Mo and so on and so forth, I still think it's not that much of an impact. Not as much as people would try to let on. Because I'm sorry, man. Like year after year, Problem is good. You know what I'm saying? Serious Mo, you know what I'm saying? Like he's still up there. He's like one of the top players in the world. Skimbo, Joke, so on and so forth. Like I see these guys. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, yeah, the game is like this year, but the cream rises to the top.
And correct me if I'm wrong, there was a couple guys who were out of the game for almost 5 to 7 years or whatever and came back this year and were reasonably competitive again.
Mm-hmm. Let me see. Yeah, because I know. Let me see here. I think for sure it was. I think like Jet Steel and so on and so forth was successful earlier and stuff. And like I said, that kind of goes back to the person's focus, because obviously the years pass and things happen in your real life. You have family obligations, jobs, and so on and so forth. So it depends on their focus and stuff like that. But some of these guys, if they decide to lock in, then watch out. It's a different Madden, but it's still Madden. So.
Yeah, and I don't want to make it sound like I just want to make this clear before somebody shoots a tweet at me. We're not bashing Serious Mo at all. The dude has forgotten more about Madden than I know. We're just talking about his issues with this game, and you can see that in his Twitter timeline. And if you don't follow him on Twitter, he's one of the funniest dudes to follow on Twitter. He adds an element of drama to competitive Madden that I think you need. Now, this wasn't a question I prepped you for, and I don't. If you don't want to answer it, go ahead. But I just wanted to ask it in terms of what we were just talking about. How much does Madden need a personality that can be either loved or hated? So what I'm talking about is, look at what Conor McGregor has done for the UFC in terms of people will people will tune in because it's McGregor. And obviously, this summer, he's trying to transcend the sport. But one thing about Madden that's interesting is a lot of the guys that are really good at it are introverts. You know what I mean? It's because that's how they got good at video games. They've been introverts their whole lives. And the post-game interviews, it's like, well, what did you do there? Well, I wanted to hit the corner, and well, when I tried to hit the corner, I was able to hit the corner, so I was able to win that game.
The Popovich.
Yeah, right. It really is. So, do you think Madden needs a personality like that?
Well, I would say yeah. Because if you think about it, we're talking about Conor McGregor, right? He's going to fight a Floyd Mayweather. Okay, so we'll kind of extrapolate that. Okay, Floyd Mayweather, right? Everyone knows what's going to happen in his last few fights. Okay, he's faster than everyone. He's skilled. Basically, it just seems like he's like just dancing around the ring and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh man, this is boring. Blah blah. And then the thing is that because of his personality, his polarizing personality, people are either going to watch to see if he wins or watch to see if he loses.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the point is that, but they're watching. They're buying the pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think. Madden definitely needs that. You know what I'm saying? Definitely needs that. And I think there's people out there right now that are kind of like taking those roles and so on and so forth. We got the Problem. We got Dub.W. Dubby. Definitely great personality. The guy that won it all last year, Stiff. And then we got other guys like Joke. We also got Serious Mo, so on and so forth. I think once they get used to the bright lights and everything like that, you're going to see more of these guys' personalities come out and stuff like that. I definitely see it because just interacting with them outside of the bright lights and everything like that, like these guys, there's a lot that they can show. And there's a lot for the public to kind of like root for or root against, but they're definitely going to watch.
All right, great. So who breaks out this year that no one is expecting? Is there a name we should look out for on the leaderboards?
I would say, and I've been talking about this a little bit on Twitter. This is the one guy that's been in my leagues for a while and that has been playing on the leaderboards, making a little noise. Competitive players definitely know about him, and that's Shikobi, otherwise known as Obi-Wan Shikobi or Obi-Wan Shifoldi, and so on and so forth. But he is, he's like right there on the edge, right there on the precipice to really becoming a known player, making a live event and so on and so forth. He was like right on the edge of that. So I would say look out for him. He's a bona fide, he's a great player. You know what I'm saying? And I think that just because he doesn't have that name recognition and stuff like that, man, he is a great player. And I would not putting him up against any of the top players. I would not feel nervous at all and stuff like that. So definitely look out for him.
That's good. Okay, so let's say somebody that first let's talk about this tournament you guys have coming up on the second and third. Sure. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's get a kind of promo cut for this. Yeah. So what's happening? Why should I register if I'm listening? Who should register, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so pretty much what we've had, the tournament's going to be on September 2nd, 2-day tournament. So it's September 2nd and September 3rd. So Saturday, September 2nd, and Sunday, September 3rd. On the 2nd, we're going to have the group play, the round robin group play. And then after that, on Sunday, we'll have the single elimination playoff. This is going to be at Microsoft Store, the flagship in New York City on 5th Avenue. And everything is, and this is also going to be at their mixer studio, which is very very a great studio, $1 million studio, TV quality. We've had a couple of events there We had one for the NFL draft tournament in April. Then we had another event in June to close out the year. That we call that the Madden 17 Honors. And yeah, it was great, man. Everyone came out. We had about 70 players come out for the June event. So like people really like the venue. It's just a beautiful place to play Madden. The staff there is very helpful, and they're just excited to be hosting Madden on a competitive high level and stuff like that. And so right in the middle of New York City, and it's going to be great. And we're working on the getting the finalizing the sanctioning from EA. To make this our fourth ever sanction event. So, and the sanctioning, that entails, getting a foothold and getting, a better placing in the Madden Championship Series for Madden 18. So definitely, if you're a professional level player and or you want to get to that point and make your name and show how good you are, you definitely need to make it out to this event, stuff like that. It's going to be the first tournament event, major tournament event of the Madden season. And yeah, man, you got to be there. Make it out.
Yeah, so let's say I don't want to compete, but I just want to come hang out. Is there a admission cost for that, or can I just show up?
No, there's no spectator fee. No spectator fee. So you can come. That's no problem and stuff like that. I mean, don't keep it reasonable. Don't go with a posse like 40 people and stuff like that. Obviously, the space is limited, and it is kind of set aside for the players. Their friends, their wives and girlfriends, and so on and so forth. But if you're a spectator, want to come check it out and stuff like that, yeah, you're more than welcome to. Yeah, no charge.
Yeah, I'll have to see what I'm doing. I'm having a baby on the 1st, so I'm not having the baby, but my wife is. So small probability of me making it, being like, babe, I need you to handle things today. I'm gonna go watch some competitive Madden.
You don't want to Scaramucci yet. Don't do that.
No, I don't want to do that. That would be a problem.
Yeah.
All right. So let's say somebody's average at Madden, like the guy we described, somebody who says, I'm better than all my friends, but when I play online, I get waxed. I have to. If I'm going to find a scheme, I have to get it off a website. I'm not somebody who can create my own stuff. Can that guy be competitive? And if so, how does guy or girl? Because we have a female game changer now. We're inclusive here.
Hey, we have a young lady signed up to our event for September, and we had one play in our last event in June, stuff like that. So they're there.
Scientifically speaking, women have better hand-eye coordination than men. So in theory, like the best possible female gamer could be better than the best possible male gamer. Which it gets real interesting. It's just, the difference is that guys get video game controllers put in their hands when they're small,
Yeah, let's keep it ourselves, because they might hop on the servers and stuff like that and start beating us and be like, okay, you don't need to play it.
And hop on the mic in the way. And that's the only thing that's worse than when the 11-year-old hops on the mic in the middle of beating you.
Lot of meatloaf.
Yeah. One guy hopped on recently. It was like this real squeaky voice, and he goes, "Oh, thanks so much for letting me beat you on my live stream." And I'm like, I'm gonna freaking throw my PS4 into the ocean.
New gamer tag.
Yeah, it was bad news. But let's say somebody is an average player, hangs out in kind of All Pro 1, All Pro 2. Can that guy be competitive, and what does his path forward look like?
Well, the thing is that if you really want to be competitive, like you have to, like just being on the servers, that's only gonna do so much. You play people, you don't communicate. You start talking to people, you're gonna start going down that rabbit hole. People are gonna say like, "Yo, go here, join this league, join Compete Forever," and then after that's when you start kind of getting exposed to the competitive players. What's good about the Madden Championship Series is that it makes it way easier to connect to that, because it's like, hey, okay, I see WWE, so on and so forth. They're playing on NFL Network, so on and so forth. But they're easily accessible to Twitter, on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? So hey, You go on social media, blah blah, hey W blah blah and stuff like that, so on and so forth. You check out a stream, he'd be like, yeah, I'm playing in this tournament here, whatever, and stuff like that. Those are open for anyone to play in. You know what I'm saying? So then it's all about the player wanting to take that step. The only person that can stop them from wanting to take that step is themselves. So it really, I would say right now, the way everything's set up, the point of entry for someone that wants to go from a casual player to a competitive player, it's as wide as ever it's been and stuff like that. It's just that you just have to take that step, So that's how I look at it.
Absolutely. And all right, so we have a couple community questions. Well, just one actually came in, but at Madden Killer with 2 R's asked, when is the MCS format coming out? And I think, do you know that? Because I don't.
I do know that.
Oh, okay. All right, we got you.
But look, it's gonna come out when it comes out.
It's coming
out very soon, and stuff like that. This is where we get into the NDA and everything like that, and I have to.
It'll drop when it drops. It'll drop when it drops.
I gotta defer to Marku and the gang on that one and stuff like that. So. It'll be out soon. If it wasn't going to be out soon, we wouldn't be, promoting our event and so on and so forth. So, you guys hang tight. Hang tight, but meantime, sign up for our tournament.
Absolutely. Sign up for the tournament. And it's pretty cheap, too. It's only, I think, $130 or so. And I know people say, oh, $130. That's really,
if you think about it, though, the thing is that usually, like in the past, like basically like a tournament entry would be about like $50, $60, and then after that, if you wanted to do a rebuy, like the buyback, it would be like around the same price and so on and so forth. So basically, it's like it is pretty much the same price point if you were entering a tournament where you would buy back and stuff like that. And me being a person that used to go to tournaments and be a player and stuff like that, we try to make sure that the price point is as low as it possibly can be while we're still able to take care of our obligations, stuff like that. Because tournament directors going in the red doesn't bode well for the competitive scene, because then they go away and then we're starting from square one again. So
and I would imagine between Microsoft isn't giving you space on Fifth Avenue for free, and then you get into, you have to have a cash prize, you have to, there's a lot of costs that go into running an event for sure. And when you think about $130, that's a baseball game, right? It's you and another person go watch some baseball. That's about what you're going to get into. If your team's good, if your team's garbage, you can go for $10. But
you gotta be in it to win it. But I will tell you this: I'm towing the line right here. When Marku makes that announcement, when EA makes that announcement, people, there definitely will be way more of a motivation to get to these live events than there was last year.
Yeah, I don't think that's breaking, because that was pretty obvious based off of the tweets that started to float around that were unsubstantiated and were leaks. And then Matt came out and said, everybody relax, we'll make an announcement when we make an announcement. And I think they're adding value to live events is, I think, a neat idea. And the online leaderboards are fun. It sounds like they're still going to have that. And I'll just speak to this. I won't ask you to respond because I legitimately don't know anything. I think that's great, and I'm excited to see what the year holds. All right, so we have 5 speed round questions for you.
All right.
And let's just fly through them real quick. Favorite Madden feature of all time? Think like vision cone, hit stick, etc.
Oh, man. Let's see. That's kind of caught me by surprise and stuff like that. Okay, you know what? I will say the year that they actually came out with the playmakering, like the individual playmakering, when you can like hot route your defensive people to do certain zones and so on and so forth. Because up to a certain point, you know what? I think the first year that you can actually do the playmakering and everything like that was the year of when Michael Vick was on the cover. So up to that point, is like you ran your play. It was what it was. But that year, when they started coming out with that, man, that was another level and stuff like that. So I think
was that 04?
I think it was 04.
Yeah,
I think it was 04. Yeah. So
it's difficult to describe how much of a problem Mike Vick was in that game.
Yeah. And well, Mike Vick and Donovan McNabb was a beast too.
You know,
Culpepper.
That game, my offense in that game. Now I was, how old was I in 04 then? So that would have been 2003, 2000. I was 13 years old. So I'm 13 years old. My offense in that game was Westbrook and Westbrook handoff in the I form, and I would just do that until they went into single man on the outside, and then I would do play action and bomb it to Terrell Owens. And that was my whole offense. That was it, man. That was my mini scheme ebook was out around that. No, and then Javon Curse was a defensive end for that team, and he was dirty, and I used to just use the D-line. I know I need to repent for that, but I used to use the D-line. I'm actually excited about squads because I get to go back to using the D-line.
I'm a D-line user myself too. So don't and also too, there's been other high-level players that have been known to use the D-line too, like Evo Ken and so on and so forth. So you have nothing to be ashamed about.
Yeah. But no, that was a fun year. I always feel like 04 was the year where it was the first time I remember really playing Madden, and then 07 was the first year where I played almost every day. And I realized, man, I really like this stuff. All right,
07, best Madden ever. I still think that to this day, 07.
It was a good game, man. It was a good game. I enjoyed that game. I think I ran the 49ers playbook, and it was they had this real crazy jumbo heavy setup that no other playbooks had, and guys used to just get so mad because you would just run all over them on it.
That run D up.
Yeah, for sure. Best player you've ever played against?
Best player that I ever played against, myself personally, I would say young nephew. He won a couple of Madden challenges in 32 city challenges. He won one, and then he was the winner of Madden Nation. I'm not sure maybe the second season of Madden Nation on ESPN. So he won that. Very, very, very high level player. I'm thinking that maybe he'll come back stronger this year and so on and so forth. But
he's the guy that was back at live events this year after being out of the game for a little bit.
He kind of made a comeback, but he didn't fully put his toe all the way in the pool and stuff like that. But when he's locked in, he's a problem. Young nephew is one of the best out there, ever. You know what I'm saying? So that's a person I played. I played against him at a couple of local events and stuff like that. And he's a great player. He's definitely a great player.
Yeah. All right, next one. Craziest Madden moment. So this is you stopped a guy, but then the fumble rolled forward and his tight end picked it up and ran it into the end zone and you lost the game.
I have something similar, kind of like that, but it is a crazy story that just comes off the top of my head. There was a pretty good player, very good player, one of the best out here on the East Coast. His name is Brusk. Okay. And we had a tournament. There was a tournament in Philly in 2010, Players Ball. Okay. So, I'm playing against them. I'm locked up against them and everything, and I'm playing great against him. Well, not great, but, I don't know if he's playing bad and not, what I'm saying? He's playing down to my level, but the game was close. You know what I'm saying? So everything. So pretty much, I have a chance to pretty much to bring the game into overtime with kicking a field goal. I have the Raiders. I think he has the Chargers, something like that. So, I'm ready to kick the field goal and everything like that. But, it's actually a pretty far field goal. It's almost like a 60-yard field goal and stuff like that. Now, back in Madden 10, in any Madden now, if you're going to do a long field goal, you're not going to have the arrow pointed, all the way up, because you want to keep the airtime as minimal as possible to get that distance. I had a brain fart. I guess I was starstruck or whatever and stuff like that. I didn't even move the arrow. And then after that made me have a really, really short field goal and stuff like that. And everyone's around me like, oh, okay, come on, coach, what are you doing? And stuff like that. So that's my story and stuff like that. So, so it's like, that would have been like the biggest win for me ever in a tournament and stuff like that. And then that happened to me. So hey, man. So
Heartbreak.
some things heartbreak, man. Some things are meant for certain people and some things are not. So that's yeah.
I think you already answered this, but what was your best year of Madden? Would that be 07?
My best year of Madden playing, oh man, playing competitively. Let me see. Oh, it's no. I would say 10. I would say Madden 10. Yeah, I mean, if I was able to hang with someone like that and stuff like that, I would say, I did pretty good. Relative and stuff like that. My best is not that good.
All right, and then last question. Some of these are just stupid questions just to get ridiculous answers to them. But if a dog wore pants, how many leg holes would those pants have?
Got to be 2. How can you have pants in the hand foots? Yeah.
But then this is a confusing topic, man, because dogs have 4 legs.
No, they have 2 legs and then
2
they have
arms.
2 hand foots.
2 hand foots. Okay. All right. The official position. All right, man. Well, hey, thanks so much for taking some time. I think this was great. Anything you want to plug on your way out?
Just pretty much again, like I said, sign up for that tournament September 2nd and 3rd. Just sign up as soon as possible. We have limited spots, only 128 spots. The registration will end on midnight the night before. So that'll be basically 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on September 1st. So definitely get in there, lock in your spots. Like I said, we are finalizing the EA sanctioning. We've had 3 sanction events before. We've always said this, so we're not gonna tell you it's sanctioned and then then nothing happens and stuff like that. So lock your spot in, because once they make this announcement and stuff, if you're not locked in, you're gonna regret it. So get there now.
Absolutely. And if you need a cheap way to get there, I live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. You can drive to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, get a hotel in here. Train ride's only about an hour long, so don't get some crazy expensive hotel in New York City. You can go way cheaper, go in somewhere on the main line train route, either Paoli, Lancaster. Just a pro tip for you if you're coming from outside the area.
See, there you go.
Yeah, and if you come to Lancaster, hit me up, man. Hit me up on Twitter. We'll go grab some food or something. Unless you're weird, in which case, and I will check your tweets and see if you're weird. But Coach K is you on Twitter. It's K0ACHK.
That's correct.
All right, so hit Kevin up on Twitter, and you can hit me up on Twitter at @AdRobsGC, and we will see you guys next week. Guys, thank you so much for listening to that podcast. I so appreciate it. Remember, next week we have Rex Dixon, and you guys can help us out by sharing this podcast, leaving a 5-star review, and subscribing. We so appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.